Welcome to Deep Dive again. Today we're tackling the monumental and famously difficult Turkish masterpiece, Tutunamayanlar, or The Disconnected.
It's a work that, it completely redefined Turkish literature when it came out.
Absolutely.
And its reputation has just grown and grown. For a lot of readers, it sort of holds a similar place to, say, Joyce's Ulysses, or maybe the existentialism you'd find in Kafka.
It's a challenge.
It is. It's a book that really resists an easy read. It's all layered narratives, shifting voices, and this relentless intellectual demand on the reader.
Exactly. And that challenge is really what our deep dive today is all about. We want to move beyond just, a simple plot summary and really dig into the central question of the novel. It's Turgut Özben's journey, or his descent, really, after his friend Selim Işık's suicide. Is this deep dive, Turgut takes a genuine, fruitful quest for dignity, for some kind of authentic self? Or is it, in the end, just a total surrender to the meaninglessness that Selim embodied?
And that tension, that's the core of it. The search for meaning versus, the acceptance of chaos. That's what makes the novel such a powerful work of postmodernism.
Right.
The radical structure isn't just for show. It's the very tool Atay uses to ask whether a stable, coherent identity is even possible anymore.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Let's start with the catalyst.
Yeah.
So Turgut Özben is living this prescribed life, right?
A perfect life. He's a successful engineer, a husband, a father.
But when Selim kills himself, Turgut's perfectly constructed world is just shattered. His friend's suicide leaves this gaping void, an abyss, as the source calls it.
An abyss he feels compelled to bring into language, to define.
Yes.
It's a classic existential awakening, but it's seen through this very specific Turkish bourgeois lens. Selim's absence forces Turgut to stop and see that his own identity engineer, father, responsible man, is a complete construct.
He becomes alienated.
Totally alienated from the social order. He steps out of one set of obligations, the connected life, only to step right into a new all-consuming one, the obsession with understanding Selim.
And Atay's critique of this comfortable conformity is so sharp, it's even kind of hilarious. He satirizes Turgut and his peers Kaya, Mehmet, by lumping them into a single species. Tell us about the Kaya Mehmet Turgut Denise.
Ah, yes. It's a brilliant move. It translates to something like the two-holed species whose females make the nest and males bring food.
Wow.
The whole point is to just obliterate any illusion of individuality. The text basically says that calling them Turgut, Kaya, and Mehmet is pointless. They're all just interchangeable units of the same standard issue creature.
The standardized man.
Precisely. Their lives are just carbon copies of each other. Same routines, same opinions, same superficial goals.
It's a devastating picture.
It is. There's a great detail where Turgut can't even remember who spilled food on whose tie at a dinner because their lives are so uniformly banal they just blend together. They aren't living, they're performing a script.
And that's what makes Selim so powerful. He represents the failure to even successfully join that species. He tried to be the normal man, but he just couldn't pull off the performance.
Selim's whole life was this attempt to master the script. He tried to do the expected things, going to brothels, reading what he thought were the right obscene novels, chasing girls.
All to achieve normalcy.
Yes, but he lacked what the sources call the necessary consistency. He couldn't be spontaneous because for him, life was something that had to be learned from books, from observation, not just lived.
Like it was a foreign language he could never quite master.
Exactly. And that failure is what makes him the prototype of the disconnected person. But this raises a huge question.
Which is?
If Turgut sees this manufactured failed life in Selim, why on earth does he then dedicate his life to following that same path? And this is where the quest becomes so ambiguous.
Right, because his journey starts in fragments. He doesn't go looking for clues in a straight line. His investigation is all about navigating these broken, incomplete, often incoherent texts by or about Selim.
And that structural disruption is the first real sign that Turgut is leaving his ordered world behind.
So we have to talk about his motivation here, the psychology of it. You mentioned the mimetic impulse.
Yes, the mimetic impulse is key. Selim, even in death, is Turgut's present-absent mediator.
Think of it like a child who doesn't just want a toy, but specifically wants the toy that another child has. The desire is mediated.
So Turgut doesn't inherently want the disconnected life. He wants the life that Selim seemed to promise, a life of beauty and dignity.
He wants the status. He's trying to acquire the idealized image of the perfect outcast, the perfect disconnected man.
That's a kind of envy, then.
A very sophisticated kind. Turgut is trying to, and I'm quoting here, steal from the mediator his very being of being a perfect disconnected. This idealization is so powerful it just paralyzes his judgment, his whole sense of reality. He's chasing a ghost.
An imitation of an imitation. Because the irony is that Selim himself was trapped in this. The source material is clear that Selim was obsessed with books, especially those his life and work collections. He completely surrenders the authority over his actual experience to books. He would read the prefaces, the life stories of writers, often focusing on their failures, their struggles, so he could identify with that suffering artist persona.
He was trying to inhabit other people's lives through text.
And he knew it was a trap. Selim writes that he suffered because of books, saying something like, "It's as if they were all written for me. I cannot bring so many people to life at once. I mix them all up."
He was trying to be too many people at once and ended up being no one.
Which means if Selim couldn't find an authentic existence, Turgut's quest to become his heir is, well, it's doomed from the start. He's chasing a void.
And to really understand the depth of this connection, the novel emphasizes the very intimate bond between the two men.
Absolutely. The homosocial dimension is impossible to ignore. You see these moments where Turgut is actively revising Selim's past to fit his own ideal.
Like the brothel incident.
That's a key example. Turgut retells the memory, but he sort of. He refocuses it to disassociate Selim from any real sexual connection with women.
Why?
It's a projection. He casts Selim as the pure intellectual ideal, and women become merely the flesh, a distraction.
And he goes even further, doesn't he? He's constantly infantilizing or feminizing Selim.
He is. He compares him to a new bride and talks about his imaginary garters.
What's the function of that?
It's about setting Selim apart from the world of the Kayama Gillardinus. By feminizing him, Turgut lifts him out of the world of ordinary male appetites. Selim becomes this pure, almost ascetic figure of disconnection, a worthy mediator for Turgut's quest.
That's a fascinating point. The disconnect he's seeking has to be purified of any messy reality, and this is where the novel's structure becomes so essential.
It has to be. If the subject, the self, desire, is unstable, then the novel's form must also be unstable. Atay, a lot like Beckett really, adopts this post-structuralist view that language itself is a trap.
The words are little traps.
Exactly, and no sign is ever pure or fully meaningful.
So if the signifiers are flawed, then the very idea of a unified reality is doomed. It brings up that really unsettling question. Was all just talk about our talk?
It's a terrifying thought. If reality is just constructed by discourse, by language, then there's no objective truth for Turgut to find. The protagonists are just destined to fail in their search for an original, unmediated self.
And yet, this failure is, paradoxically, their success. This is the art of failure, isn't it? A concept we see in Beckett.
The novel works because the characters fail. They fail to find an authentic self. They fail to find meaning. They fail to create a neat narrative. But in that failure, they succeed in painting a picture of the world as it is. Chaotic, fractured, fragmented.
The inability to connect becomes the most authentic state possible.
It is.
And to achieve this, Atay uses this whole arsenal of techniques that just shatter the reading experience.
It's a constant layering. You have entire sections that are just fragmented genres and parodies. Take Selim's poems. They're intentionally clumsy, full of what he calls clumsy irregularities. Because Selim felt his own internal chaos needed a formally broken container. The poem has to fail as a form to succeed as an expression of his inner state.
And Atay also undermines any sense of objective history by including fake scholarly articles, like the history of Solomon IV, or parodies of famous cultural scenes.
Like The Last Supper.
Right.
Those disruptions just pull the rug out from under the reader. But maybe the most interesting technique, because it's so tied to Turkish culture, is the use of the meta.
The Ottoman one-man storyteller.
That's right. The meta would perform, changing his voice, his personality, shifting between roles right there in front of you. It's an art form built entirely on the idea of a fluid, performed, temporary identity.
And how does that connect to Turgut and Selim?
It's a perfect analogy for their lack of a fixed self. They aren't stable characters. They are performances, shifting voices within the text. This is Atay illustrating that idea from Foucault and Barthes that the author, or the man, is dead.
So the characters are just products of the language around them.
Exactly. They are performances in search of an audience. not real psychological beings.
Which means Turgut's journey isn't a psychological quest for a soul. It's a literary quest for the perfect script to perform alienation. That's deeply melancholic.
It is. Turgut's final, desperate move is toward this idea of absolute concentration, or yosunlaşma. He's seeking a purity of experience outside of that suffocating social language.
He leaves everything behind.
Everything. His family, his job.
Yeah.
All to read Selim's writings on what he thinks will be a long and sad journey.
And yet, even this ultimate goal, yosunlaşma, he can't even explain it. He can't verbalize it to his wife.
They don't have the shared vocabulary. What he's seeking exists outside the world of the connected. He's searching for something that is ultimately unnameable.
It's a sophisticated literary mirror for the modern dilemma, isn't it? The search for an authentic self just runs headlong into the unstable nature of reality and language itself.
The book shows that escaping the standardized life doesn't lead you to solid ground. It leads you deeper into the unnameable, where logic just collapses. The goal becomes less about finding an answer and more about committing to the beautiful articulation of the unanswered question.
This journey into the disconnected ends not with a neat resolution, but with this profound, provocative ambiguity. So we want to know what you think. If Turgut's ideal, Selim, was himself just a failed imitation, was Turgut's pursuit of him a final, futile quest for dignity and truth? Or was it simply an act of surrender to the meaninglessness of it all? Did Turgut ultimately find freedom, or just a more intellectual prison? Let us know your thoughts. And be sure to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more explorations into literature and ideas that shape our world.